Hey guys, it's Danny, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I've only done one other video like this, and I think it was how to get out of reading slumps. And I'm probably not the best person to give advice because half the time I never know what I'm doing. Usually I'm just kind of doing things, and if they turn out, they turn out, and if they don't get posted. So I've done a couple of those videos where they never got posted, discussion video wise. This one's more of an advice video. As you can see by the title, it is Booktubing 101. So my tips on how to booktube from a not so perfect booktuber, me. I have a paper right down here on my nightstand that have all of my little tips and stuff. Most of them you probably heard in like other Booktubing 101 videos. But, I mean, they're all the same tips, but it's kind of nice to hear the same things from different people because that's basically the rules, tips that everybody is following. If you're just starting out to booktube and you kind of stick towards those guidelines, I found that by sticking to the guidelines that other people told me in booktubing videos like that if I stuck to those, I've become such a better booktuber than what I was when I first started, let me tell you. I am in no way perfect, and I never will be perfect, but these are just some of the tips on like how to be a better booktuber or how to get more confident at being a better booktuber or a booktuber in general. Tip number one is probably the most important, and it's the one that you're going to hear everywhere, and it's the one you're probably tired of hearing, but you need to hear it, and that is to be yourself. It is probably the most straightforward tip you will ever get from any sort of Booktubing 101 sort of video, but it is so true. You can't pretend to be somebody you're not on the camera, and you can't try to be exactly like some other booktuber because then people are going to be like, oh, this booktuber is exactly like this booktuber, and I'd rather just watch this booktuber than watch two booktubers that are exactly the same. You're going to hear the word booktuber a lot in this video. I can sense it already. You definitely have to be yourself when it comes to booktube. You don't want to be somebody that you're not. You don't want to act exactly like somebody else. You are you. People are going to be more interested in you because you're being you. And that is like the number one tip that I heard when I first started BookTube, and it's still the number one tip that I will ever give anybody when they're first starting out BookTube because it's like the golden rule. The next tip is to not be afraid about being awkward. The very first time I was filming a video, I was so afraid that I was going to be awkward. And I was like, what if I'm so awkward with the camera that it's just too awkward to put out there? And it definitely was, but I embraced the embarrassing awkwardness because I knew that after a while I'd get used to the awkward and eventually it would just kind of like be a normal awkwardness, if that makes sense. And maybe that's just my opinion on it, but I found that when I was not afraid to be awkward, I was less awkward on camera than I was when I was thinking about not being awkward. Definitely embrace that awkward though, because as soon as you start thinking more about not being awkward, you're gonna be more awkward, like I said. And I found that now, compared to then, I am so much less awkward even though I'm still really, really awkward. And maybe that's just me, like I said. Embrace your awkwardness because it just makes you more you. I'm going to now talk about more of like the technical side of booktubes. The first thing that I would recommend is having some sort of camera. It does not have to be some fancy, expensive camera. It could just be a little digital camera that you have for when you go to concerts, or vlogging camera as some people would call it. Or if you have a fancy camera because you like photography or that kind of stuff, use it. I highly recommend using some sort of camera, not just a webcam. I mean, webcams are great if you're starting out, but I mean, the quality of a video is just so much nicer when you're using some sort of actual camera like this. And I mean, like I said, it doesn't have to be the most expensive camera in the world, because eventually if you're really like into booktube, you can invest in a better camera. That's what I did, or rather my mom did for Christmas. Thank you, Mom. But having some sort of camera is really, really good because the image quality is a lot better, and chances are the sound quality is going to be a lot better than what your webcam. Along with that, I would suggest having some sort of editing software, even if it's a free one that you find somewhere. Having some sort of editing software would be great. With me, I just use iMovie on my MacBook, so it's a little bit easier for me because I didn't have to pay for it. It just came with my MacBook. I know of a few people who actually do their filming on a camera and then they send the footage to themselves through like iMessage or something, and then they use iMovie on their iPad or iMovie on their phone, which if you do that, props to you, because I don't think I'd be able to do that. I've worked with the iMovie on iPad before and it's not too horrible. iMovie on the computer is a lot easier to use and a lot better to use, but if that's the only software you have, use it. I know there's like Windows Movie Maker and other ones that you can buy for pretty cheap, like $10 and upwards of that. But if there's any sort of editing software, I think you can even use like a YouTube editing software. If you have that opportunity, use it. A edited video is going to be a lot better than one of those long one takes where you can't edit out all the stops and the pauses and the ums and the oh god, what am I doing? Why am I doing this sort of moments. And for me, it makes me more confident about my videos because then I don't have all those ands and ums and pauses and things like that just make the video more awkward than it already needs to be. And it is so much easier to edit those out than to leave those in, because leaving those in just makes the video a lot longer. Talking about timing of video lengths, I know that my videos tend to go on the longer side, and I'm trying to change that. When I do tags, sometimes they end up being 14 minutes or 11 minutes, but lately I've been able to keep them under 10, which is like a proud moment for me because that was never able to happen before. Trying to keep it under 10 minutes is usually difficult for me because I end up having like 20 minutes of footage or longer for each video that I do, and then I have to try and compact it down, and there's always so much that I want to say. But if you can keep it under 10 minutes, do it. With the exception of like when you're talking about books and wrap-ups, or TBRs, or reviews. That's okay. They can be as long as they need to be. But any other kind of video, if you try to keep it under 10 minutes, it's usually the average video time that it should be. And then it doesn't feel overly long and rambly like me all the time. One thing I still need to learn about doing better is making eye contact with the camera. I know that with me, it's a little bit more difficult for me to make eye contact because I'm looking at the viewfinder, because now that I have the viewfinder on my Canon PowerShot SX50HS, I was looking at the little dooflicky over here that said it. Now that I have the viewfinder, I find that being able to see myself, I'm looking there. When I didn't have the viewfinder, I was looking at the mirror behind my camera that I was using to be able to see myself to make sure I was in frame and stuff. But it is so important to make eye contact, because if you're looking down at the ground like this, or you're looking over here, or over there, or up there, it just kind of takes away from the video and it doesn't really feel like you're connecting with your audience, in my opinion. If a person's not looking at the camera very much, it just feels like they're kind of talking, but they're not talking to me, if that makes sense. And you want to be able to connect with your audience, so making eye contact is probably one of the best ways to do that. The other tip is to not stare at your viewfinder, or the lack thereof viewfinder. If you have something that you're looking in to make sure you're in frame and everything like I used to do, don't look at it. Make sure you're in frame every once in a while, but try and make as much eye contact as you can. Another tip to add to the editing whole process, or even just the filming process of videos, is do not be afraid to repeat yourself, because if you have that editing option, you will be able to cut out all of those repeats, and maybe the first time doesn't sound as good as the second time, so you use that second time instead of the first, but it's still you saying the same thing along the same lines of what you said previously, so it fits. And I guess the sort of last thing about filming wise is to project your voice. Let your voice be heard. Don't be afraid to almost overtalk. But don't overtalk. Don't yell at the camera, because then you're gonna sound like this. And that just kills people's eardrums, especially headphone users. So sorry headphone users for that yelling, but that was the example. But you have to make sure that you're talking loud enough for your mic on your camera or your separate mic that some people have, which I still don't understand how that works. But you want to make sure that your mic can pick the sound up so that it can hear you and they can hear you and you can hear yourself when you're editing. I remember for a while when I was filming my first few videos, I was so afraid of talking loud because I was afraid of having people in neighboring apartments hear me filming, and I was afraid because my mom sits out in the living room, and if I felt like if I talked too loud she would hear me. Now she can hear me, and sometimes I'll make little comments to the camera or whatever, and then she'll pipe in from the living room, and it just kind of adds to it almost. I kind of like it now, because like if I make a comment and then she adds to it, it just seems really, really funny. But I know that I'm talking loud enough, and I know that the camera picks it up, because every time I film a video and I go to edit it, I can hear myself, and I know if my mom can hear me, the camera can hear me. So now talking more about the YouTube aspect, I guess, of this. Not just booktubing, but YouTubing in general. And I guess it kind of connects to booktube too, because my tip is to not start a booktube channel if you're just starting the channel for followers, views, or free books. I don't know if there are actual people out there who start the channel for just those, but I mean, the whole point of doing these videos isn't just to get free stuff, and it isn't to become famous on here, and it isn't about those things. It's about having fun and doing what you want to do because you want to talk to people about books. Not because you want to be famous and popular on YouTube, and not because you want all these views and because you want these publishers to send you free books. That's not being genuine if you're doing it for just that. And I don't know if that's going to get hate or not. I'm hoping it doesn't, because it makes a lot of sense to me, and I've heard it a lot in other videos too. But you want to be genuine on your channel, and if you're just doing it for the views, for the followers, subscribers, whatever, books, free anything, free merchandise, that's not being genuine. There are a lot of booktubers out there who put a lot of time, a lot of effort into their videos, and they get the views and the followers, subscribers, friends, books, things like that because they work for it and they actually have a good time doing what they're doing, and they're doing it for fun. They're not doing it for any other reason but for themselves to have fun. That's what I do, that's what a lot of other people do, and I think that's what it's mainly supposed to be about. So this is probably another kind of topic where I may or may not get some backlash comments on it, but one thing that I find a lot of booktubers do, newer booktubers, they will comment on other people's videos, but the comments aren't like original comments, they're spam, and spam is probably every booktuber or every YouTuber in general's pet peeve. I don't want to seem like one of those people that's like, ew, spam, no, just go, sort of people. But spam is probably one of the most annoying things, and I mean, yes, sometimes you're just trying to get their attention and trying to get your channel out there, but there are so many other ways you can do that. If you just try and talk to these other booktubers or YouTubers in general through Twitter or through comments, but original comments, not just, hey, check out my channel sort of thing, your channel's probably going to get a lot more attention through that way than trying to spam everybody, because most people are going to delete your spam off of their comments before it even goes up. Adding on to that, if you comment on other booktubers or YouTubers' channels, chances are they're more likely going to see your comments and want to respond to you, and that is the best way to make friends. I have made so many friends just by commenting on their videos and being like, hey, I like your shirt. Hey, I like this book too. I did this, blah, 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 blah. Kind of comments like that that'll catch their attention and make them want to respond is probably the best way I personally have made friends on BookTube. Even trying to find them on social medias like Twitter and Goodreads for BookTube. Trying to find them on there and trying to spark up a conversation is probably my #1 suggestion on making so many BookTube friends. I have so many new friends through BookTube, and that's because I actually took the time to comment them and message them and say hi. And I guess the last sort of thing that I want to talk about is one that I need some tips on too, because I am horrible at it, and that is original content. When it comes to original content, I am the worst. The creative juices just do not come to me when it comes to original content. I have made maybe 2 tags, original tags, and that's about it. I've gotten ideas for series on my channel. I have actually come up with a name for that series that I want to do. I was thinking about calling it Devouring the Books. We devour books, right? And like the idea of treats and books and devouring them, and yeah, I'm not very creative with that either. But I actually got another series idea which I'm going to announce in a video following this one, but that's about it. I'm not very creative. I typically stick to the normal BookTube things, like I do reviews, wrap-ups, TBRs, stuff like that. Tags, I'm really good at doing tags. When I can't think of doing an original thing, I end up going to tags because it's the easiest thing to film. It doesn't require much effort most of the time, and sometimes it also gives me ideas for my own tags and things like that. If you're really stuck on video ideas, I guess my tip for that would be to do some tags and watch around and see what other videos other booktubers have done. Like recently I did a favorite side character, so it wasn't about a specific book and it wasn't a tag, it was just me talking about my favorite side characters in books. And I think that you could get a lot of ideas for those kind of videos from Top 5 Wednesdays or Tuesday Talks and things like that. There are also plenty of groups like that on Goodreads and stuff that you can join. They will probably be linked down below if I can remember to link them. But if you're ever looking for video ideas like that, check out those groups and see what topics they're talking about, because they always have new topics and new ideas. So I guess that is it for my tips. A lot of them you've probably heard, and a lot of them probably weren't explained as well as I wanted them to be, but I hope they help a little bit or a lot of it. Yes, I know that I watched a lot of these kinds of videos, and they definitely helped me become the better booktuber that I am. I am by no means perfect, and I never will be a perfect booktuber, but I'm hoping that these little tips will be able to help you guys in starting a channel or getting your channel to where you want it to be. Comment down below some other things you would want tips on, because it kind of has to do with this new series that I might definitely be announcing in a video following this one. Like now, following this one now. And when that video is live, it will be linked down below as special announcement or something. So go check that out, because it's kind of exciting, and I definitely love some ideas for what to do with it. That is it for this video, you guys. If you liked it, and hopefully if these tips help, let me know. I definitely hope they do help, because I know a lot of these tips that I heard when I was first starting helped me, so I hope they help you too. With that, I will see you guys in my next video.